Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you trade or invest at all, you already know the feeling. The stock market can honestly feel like a complete black box sometimes. I mean, you hit a button, a trade executes, and suddenly the price is jumping all over the place for reasons that seem, well, completely disconnected from reality.
Seriously, have you ever bought a stock and watched the price immediately drop? It's like the market was just sitting there, literally waiting for you to hit buy before pulling the rug out from under you. We all know that feeling, as if some invisible hand is just pushing numbers around on your screen purely to frustrate you. Well, I am so thrilled you're tuning in today because we are going to crack that black box wide open. We're pulling back the curtain on market microstructure to show you the actual physical gears turning right beneath the surface. We're getting right into the raw mechanics of supply and demand.
Let's kick things off with a fantastic quote from our source material. This basically sets the absolute foundation for everything we're about to cover today. It goes, understand why price moves rather than just where it has been. Now that sounds simple enough, right? But this actually represents a massive paradigm shift in how you process market data. You see, most conventional analysis traps you in the past. You're constantly analyzing closing prints. But today, we're shifting our entire perspective to the present moment. We're going to analyze the auction market theory as it unfolds, tick by tick.
All right, so here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Beyond the price chart. 2. Passive intent and liquidity. 3. Aggressor volume. 4. How prices actually move. And finally, 5. Visualizing the order flow. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Beyond the price chart, focusing on order flow analysis.
Okay, listen, if there is one single habit you break today, it's relying solely on lagging indicators. Just think about the math behind standard tools like moving averages, the RSI, or the MACD. They calculate past closes. They represent a historical reality, basically telling you what happened 5 minutes ago or 5 days ago. As our sources so brilliantly put it, it's literally like trying to drive your car down the highway while only staring in your rearview mirror. Crazy, right? Order flow, on the other hand, well, that's looking straight through the windshield. It's about analyzing real-time buying and selling activity, focusing entirely on the interaction of market participants right now. It is the fundamental difference between reading a history book about a battle and standing on the front lines watching the dynamics unfold. Lagging indicators calculate past closes. Order flow tracks real-time liquidity consumption.
Moving on to Section 2, Passive intent and liquidity. I like to call this part the resting giant.
So, the Centralized Limit Order Book, or the CLOB for short. Think of this as a transparent ledger that shows exactly where traders actually want to do business. It aggregates all the visible buy and sell limit orders at every single price level. These are traders stating their passive intent. They're basically raising their hands and saying, hey, I'm willing to buy or sell, but absolutely only at this specific price. By placing a limit order, a trader is adding liquidity to the market, and this provides us with incredible transparency because it highlights exactly where the liquidity is concentrated way before the price even gets there. It lets us map out the entire structural framework of the current auction.
And that brings us to the DOM, or the depth of market. The DOM is the actual visual tool we use to view that limit order book. It displays those real-time liquidity levels, showing you exactly where traders are placing their bids and offers. So when you look at the DOM, you are looking at resting limit orders just waiting out there in the market. Now, these resting orders act like a massive gravitational pull, creating areas of potential support or resistance. Because large institutional players leave their footprints right here, price is very often magnetically drawn to these high liquidity nodes. Why? Because participants naturally seek out areas where massive block orders can actually be filled without causing immense slippage.
Section 3, Aggressor Volume. This is the market spark.
Let's contrast these two dueling forces we have in the market. On one side, we've got passive intent, those resting limit orders just sitting on the DOM. But passive intent is purely potential. By itself, it absolutely cannot move the market. To actually shift price, we need active participation, which our sources refer to as aggressor volume. Aggressor volume represents the actual real-time execution of trades. These are your market orders. Traders who are crossing the spread, demanding immediate entry right now, regardless of the specific price. They are actively removing liquidity from the market by executing against those resting limit orders we just talked about. So think of it this way. The resting orders are the potential. The aggressor volume is the spark turning that intent into reality.
Which perfectly sets up Section 4, how prices actually move. We're going to take this step by mechanical step.
Let's walk through exactly how this happens. Step 1. Liquidity is just resting quietly on the DOM. The defensive lines are drawn at a specific price node. Step 2.
Aggressor volume, those urgent, immediate market orders, enters the market. Then step 3 is where the magic happens. The aggressor volume begins consuming that available resting liquidity. Just imagine there are 100 sell limit contracts resting at a specific price. If a buyer comes in hot with a market order for 150 contracts, they consume all 100 of those resting contracts instantly. That leaves 50 left over, right? Which brings us to step 4. Because all the limit orders at that specific price are entirely gone, the remaining 50 contracts of that market order absolutely must be filled at the next available price. The price is mathematically forced to tick up or down to the next level just to find counterparty liquidity. Price only moves when aggressors eat through those resting defensive lines. This exact mechanical moment of liquidity absorption is exactly what creates those green and red candles you trade every single day.
So the crucial point here is simply this. Price isn't magic. It really isn't. It forms through the continuous, real-time interaction between buyers and sellers. Movement absolutely requires market orders, that aggressor volume, to consume those resting limit orders, period. By observing shifts in liquidity concentration and participant involvement, you're actually watching the market microstructure change in real time. Understanding these mechanics gives you the underlying structural why behind every single tick on your screen. It completely elevates your perspective from just guessing to actually observing the mechanical outputs of consumption.
And finally, Section 5, Visualizing the Order Flow. Let's talk about seeing market intent.
To do this right, we need tools specifically designed for market microstructure. Platforms out there translate all these abstract concepts into highly readable visual data. First up, you've got heat maps. Heat maps visually map the CLOB, highlighting those high-density liquidity nodes so you can spot exactly where the massive institutional orders are resting over time. It tracks both historical and current liquidity. Next, you have the DOM displays, which give you the exact real-time bids and offers waiting to be filled at this very second. And finally, volume dots. These are great because they visually represent the exact moments that aggressor volume is executing. They show you the aggressive buying and selling imbalances as they literally slam into that resting liquidity.
When you combine these 3 elements, you are effectively performing real-time tape reading. You aren't guessing anymore. You are watching price react to specific liquidity levels as it happens. The CLOB and the DOM reveal where price might be magnetically driven next simply because they show you exactly where the heavy liquidity is sitting. This gives you the ultimate structural foundation for anticipating market direction, and that directly impacts how you manage your risk, how you place your stops securely behind large liquidity walls, and how you time your entries with absolute precision.
Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. Are you trading the past, or are you watching the order flow? Because if you're relying strictly on lagging indicators, you are only looking at where the market has been. But by understanding market mechanics, by seeing the liquidity and the aggressor volume interacting in real time, you gain a completely different, mathematically grounded view of the markets. It's a total game changer. I really hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity to dive even deeper into the mechanics of real-time market depth and order book analysis. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you next time.